Okay, we are live, but we shall let it breathe, baby, because the Facebook folk, guess what? They deserve to be in this chat just as much as we all do. As Zach does the disappearing.
I'm trying to fix my green
We're,
screen and I still can't get that.
these green screens have been murderous on you football priests. But anyway, listen, welcome in. It's the Mile High Huddle. Nope, nope. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm Chad Jensen.
And I'm
With
Braden.
me, my fellow football priest, Zack Kelberman. Zach, I don't know if I'm coming or if I'm going. Is it the radio show? Is it the podcast? Like it's so incestuous now. But that's why it was one of the reasons we wanted to retitle the podcast, so it would be a little bit easier. Like if you do misspeak and you say, "Oh, it's the Mile High Huddle show," and you're on the podcast, unless maybe you point out that you misspoke. A lot of people, they might not even notice that. But what's good, bro? How are you today?
You're talking to the same guy that still calls it the Huddle Up podcast on a daily basis. So I totally get you. We have a lot of, what's the expression? A lot of coals in the iron, a lot of irons in the fire, whatever it is, Chad. We have a lot of things going on right now, as evidenced by the fact that we can't talk. But we're very excited, you and I, to be back on. We haven't been on since Monday on the podcast. And we had quite the fracas today at Dove Valley between the Broncos and Cowboys. We're going to get into it today. Starting with Sam Bam here, starting us off nice with a $20 super. Thank you so much, Sam. Great to see you this evening. He says, good evening, Chad, Zach, Scott, and Broncos country. I've seen some rumors that the Broncos might be interested in adding Roquan Smith and or Jalen Reagor. Luke Patterson tweet, what have you heard and your thoughts on that? I actually have an article coming to the website, Sam, right after the podcast or early tomorrow morning on Jalen Reagor. There's some conflicting rumors out there. I think it was Matt Lombardo, who used to cover the Eagles, said the Broncos could have interest, but that's like, I think it was more him speculating, and not to take anything away from his sources, but I think he's like connecting the dots. Like Rager's on the trade block, the Broncos lost Tim Patrick, let's make a deal. But then you had Benjamin Albright of KOA, who I trust a little more than Lombardo.
Yeah,
he
sure.
said, it's kind of unlikely. You know, he's heard loose things out there, but nothing imminent. It doesn't seem like the Broncos are all that interested. And same thing for Roquan. I have heard not word one about the Broncos making any significant play for Roquan Smith. The Bears are still going back and forth. They wanted to make him available to the media today, and then they decided not to at the last second. So there's a whole lot of crap going on over there in Chicago. I don't think, Chad, ultimately, though, either of these acquisitions, I can't talk, or either of these acquisitions are all that likely. That's a tongue twister.
No. I mean, why do you need Jalen Reagor? You lost a possession receiver and a wide receiver too. Jalen Reagor is like barely hanging on the Eagles depth chart. Like one of the storylines from him earlier this week that precipitated the rumor is he's like, now as a former high round draft pick, he's so grateful for all that he's had, and he realizes how hard it is to get to the top because he's getting iced out, dude. Why do you need him suddenly in Denver? I mean, miss me on that. I'm inclined to believe what the reporting is from Benjamin Albright over that. But and then the Roquan thing, we probably fueled that a little bit, Zach, because I wrote that article, pros and cons to Broncos, acquiring Roquan. There has been word zero from any official source though on the Broncos actually having an interest in Roquan Smith. Gregory Vendeland jumping in with a very generous super chat.
Thank you, Gregory.
We love that, Gregory. Thank you, buddy. And by the way, anyone who has a burning topic or burning question, get it in the chat early. Get your supers, your stars early, because tonight's podcast is going to be a little abbreviated. You might have noticed we started significantly earlier than we are wont to do. It's because I have something going on tonight. I got to be out of here a little bit early. So, Gregory, dude, you the man. Thank you, big dog. Love
Dylan
you.
brings up a great point about Reagor as well. He has drop issues, very unreliable hands. So if I'm Matt Lombardo and I'm connecting one receiver to replace Tim Patrick, arguably one of the most sure-handed receivers in the entire league, Jagan Reagor is not that answer to me. So that's why I see it's ultimately unlikely. And I'm right there with you, Chad. Why? Why give up the high-round draft pick? Why take on that baggage? For what reason? You have a great receiving core still.
And a lot of guys that ostensibly fit the same mold of a Reagor. By the way, Phil jumping in with some stars early. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate that. He says some great action today against the Cowboys. I don't want to get tapped by YouTube. The algo bots, they see everything, so I got to keep it right down the middle, Phil. But I feel you, my dog. We're going to talk a lot more about it. Believe that. First, though, we do got to say thank you and hello to our presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast. Because, hey, you know what? Fantasy football draft season, it's right around the corner. You want to make sure that you're ready for that you're manscaped, that you're ready to go. All right. The leaders in the below the waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. So join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, including your football priests, and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping when you use our code MHH.
Usually I would show off the toner that I always want to demonstrate. I actually finish the bottle. That's how often I'm using these products. It's not just lip service from Chad and I. We all on the MHH network use, whether it's the lawnmower, weed whacker, the toner. Chad, the cologne was actually surprisingly good for Manscaped. I use that up as well. The boxers are comfy. The t-shirts that they send us are comfortable. I promise you, if you want to look good, feel good, smell good, any sort of male grooming need you have, Manscaped, I promise you, I would not lead you wrong, is the way to go.
Inside their Performance Package 4.0, you will find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver, that's a ball deodorant, Crop Reviving toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag. So you got everything you need. Go to manscaped.com, use our code MHH at checkout. You'll get 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping when you use our code MHH. All right, let's dive into today, Zach. Lots and lots and lots and lots of things to discuss, and oh, so little time to do it. Diamond Rattler wants to know if we saw that hit Bradley Chubb put on Zeke Elliott. Here comes the boom, ready or not, some POD. Do you know POD used to be a Christian hardcore band? I don't know if you might have known that, Diamond Rattler, but there you go. Now you know. But Zach, it was quite chippy. It multiple fights. Luke said he counted 5. Luke Patterson, of course, covering the last day of training camp for us. He's been there all 14 days. He said he counted 5 fights between the Broncos' first-team defense and the Cowboys' first-team offense. I've heard others report as many as 8. What the Sam Hill was going on today? Why was it so chippy? Tell people.
Talking about POD on a POD. Who else but us,
That's right.
It's ironic, though. The Chubb hit was the only thing that seemingly did not cause a fight. He was hit-sticked by Bradley Chubb, who's showing a lot more aggression. And I mentioned on the radio earlier today, the Broncos seem to have a bully mentality now, and they took that out with gusto on the Cowboys. But it was just a typical joint practice. And it's not much of a hot take for me to say, Chat, joint practices are stupid. All they do is invite injuries and these sort of fistfights and action you do not need. I don't see much utility to them, even though Nathaniel Hackett feels otherwise. But this was to be expected. It happens with your own teammates. It happens with other players around the NFL. It's hot out there. You're hitting each other. And like I mentioned earlier as well, you know how many Cowboys fans were in Dove Valley today? You know how many blue and silver clad people were on that berm? A lot more than you would think. So I feel like both teams wanted to show off for their respective fan bases, and the Broncos, being the home team in that sense, had a little more juice than we all thought they would.
If you ask DJ Jones, it's because it got chippy because the Cowboys were getting their rear ends handed to them. So it's going to get chippy. Clayton, good to see you, buddy. Really appreciate your support every single time we get to see you in the chat. We really love hearing from you and seeing you. Marcus across the pond. Hey guys, from the UK. Looking forward to a great show again. Go Broncos, MHH for life. Appreciate that, my brother. Michael Ronquillo, Lawrence in the house. What's up, guys? Even Ed Keating, what's good? Preem, Super Chat, Preem in the house says, and that's a newer name, so welcome. Thank you. We do appreciate that. Connect with us on Twitter. We love to stay in touch with our supporters and Super Chat superstars, and we will shout you out after the show if you threw down, which you have. So sounds like he says, our bigs up front have some dog in them, Zach. I'm being this freaking fly, dude. It has survived all my machinations. All right.
I've been
like Elmer Fudd on the hunt. All right. For this datgum fly, and it somehow perseveres. You just saw, look, there he goes. I'm like cursed by this thing. Go on.
I mentioned, the Broncos are bullies now, and it's such a contrast because they spent the last half decade getting bullied. Now they have that dog in them, and it's like a dog pound. I don't want to pull a DMX, but I want to bark on air right now, Chad, because they, Keith Talib said it a couple years ago. The Broncos don't have any dogs, and they didn't. They were all finesse. They were all hype and no backbone under Vance Joseph, under Vic Fangio. That's not the case anymore under Hackett and Ejiro Evero. Everyone up front, especially Draymond Jones, who literally went up to a Cowboys player's helmet and did this like a gun, like he was going to shoot him in the head. When else would you see that? Other than this season, with this rejuvenated mindset in the building, you had Deshaun Williams continuing to own the trenches, dominate that Cowboys offensive line. And by the way, guys, they have a couple pretty good players on that line. And the Broncos ultimately dominated. I'm not exaggerating. It was a domination up front. Draymond, Deshaun, Mike Purcell got on there. He was scrappy as well. They won every aspect of this practice today.
Yes, it was it was a beatdown. It was a beatdown. And yeah, again, it depends on who you ask, because in some sense, at least on the offensive line, I heard a lot of negative feedback on how the Broncos looked. And if you read this training camp notebook, the journal from Luke today, he laments. Let me see if I can find it here. He laments Nathaniel Hackett's, kind of steering away from one-on-ones from the offensive line and defensive line, and that he felt like it kind of cost him a little bit in what he saw today going against outside teams. He said Calvin Anderson's had a nice camp the last 3 weeks and has played his role into the starting position as far as I'm concerned. But in practice against the Cowboys, he struggled to block pass rushers using a host of swim, rip, and bull rush moves. And then it goes on to say that just technically he was leaning too much, little things like that. So I don't know. It depends on who you ask, Zach. But the offensive line, anyway, not looking so good against Dallas, which is why I'm going to be really curious to see how they look Saturday night. What's up, Andrew?
It wasn't so much against the Cowboys. It was essentially against Micah Parsons, who's just a tremendous football player.
True.
And he killed the Broncos today. And Chad, it's been the one point. I know I'm a broken record on the radio show, on the podcast, but y'all asked me the one weakness of this Broncos team. My answer has not wavered. It is right tackle. It's a problem. Calvin Anderson is not a starter. You can argue Billy Turner is not a starter. It could come back. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will ultimately, because the quarterback play and play calling will mitigate it. But the right tackle situation, neglecting that spot for so long and putting one of your favorite phrases, Chad, a Band-Aid over a bullet hole continuously year after year after year. You're starting to see it shape up once again. Not a great situation.
Hey, Zach, since we are sitting here on Thursday night, have you decided what's going to happen for Saturday night after the game? Have you decided? Can you make any announcements for the people?
I want a little more suspense. I'm going to leave y'all on a cliff for a little while longer. We'll have more on that to come.
There will be some sort of a reaction, so you can trust on that, Andrew. Who exactly is going to be hosting that? Time will tell, because I'm not going to be around. All right, this is a rare weekend once the football season starts, where I have a preordained kind of thing going on that I have to take care of. So that being said, I'm certain someone will be going live after the show. And if not, you'll be getting a lot of coverage the next day. But I'm like 90. I feel confident in telling you 90% you'll get a post game gut reaction. But Zach, if there is no gut reaction, that would be a first. There has never been a game, whether it's preseason, regular season, that since we've started doing our podcast at a live stream, that there has not been an immediately following the game gut reaction. So there is precedent at stake here. I'm just saying.
Regardless, though, we're going to be back on Sunday night, and we'll fill y'all in on the details of the game. But I'm pretty confident as well we'll have someone on here bringing y'all the latest.
Okay, let's get back into some of the news and notes here from today. So I want to get to this from Luke's piece. Deshaun Williams bullying the Cowboys starting O-line. And Zach, he mentions, this is a unit that has some quite prominent players, all-pro, Zach Martin, all-pro, Tyron Smith. There's some good dudes here. And on Thursday, he writes, Dallas had its hands full as most of its practice was ruined by the Broncos D-line, most notably Big number 99, Deshaun Williams. Within the first handful of plays, Luke writes, there was extra pushing and shoving from the Cowboys O-line after Williams demonstrated exceptional penetration and leverage. What are you thinking, dude? This guy's a starter. He's number one at his position on the depth chart, edging out guys making 4 times as much. A guy by the name of Mike Purcell. So good to see that Deshaun's carrying that to some outside competition action.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't catch the radio show yesterday, Chad and I broke down the Broncos' first depth chart they put out of the preseason, and my one takeaway from that side of the ball was Deshaun Williams being so high. I mean, he's penciled in, like Chad just said, in a starting role. And it's surprising because raise your hand if you thought he'd be there 6 months ago. My hand wouldn't have been raised 6 months ago. This is a Vic Fangio guy. This is a holdover from the previous coaching staff, and he's hung in there. He's learned a new playbook, learned a new scheme, and not only that, he's holding down a starting job. He looks like a starting caliber player, and I love the fact he's bringing that dog to the D-line.
Guys, if you want to make sure you stay in the loop when we reference things we talked about earlier in the day on our radio show, and you live outside of market, like we've been trying to tell you, the easiest thing is to just at 2 o'clock. It's live every day, every weekday, 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. All right. If you go to our Twitter accounts, you're going to see Zach, myself promoting the day's show and the online live player that you can listen to regardless of where you're at in the world. And that allows you to tune in live. So this is what the tweets look like. Okay. Make sure you just check, or there it is right now. If you go to our Twitter accounts now, click the link, and we're not on right now. Obviously we're on with you, but if you bookmark that link, you will never have to then go back to Twitter and search it. Okay. And we appreciate all of you who have been diligently joining us for that 2 p.m. show on 98.1 FM Mile High Sports Radio in Denver. And it's been really fun. We're 2 weeks into this thing. Zach, how are you feeling about the radio show 2 weeks in?
Feels like longer than 2 weeks. And I was telling you off cam that we've found a good rhythm, 5 days a week, and we're having a lot of fun, but it doesn't, I hope they're not listening right now, but it doesn't really live up to what we have on here, Chad. The podcast, it feels like home. It feels like fun. It feels like we're talking to y'all, sitting and having a beer at the bar, talking about the Broncos. So we enjoy it so much when we get on here with y'all.
Hands down, regardless of who's listening. I'll say it. This is my first love. If you said, no one wants to cut off their right arm, no one wants to cut off their left arm. But if you had to say you got to lose one, I'm keeping my right arm because I am right-handed. Hey, if I had to lose one, you guys know what's going first, and it's not this podcast. It's not y'all. Okay, so love you. And check it out, though. Make sure you're listening because it's a little bit different vibe what we do on the radio show. Radio is a lot more kind of driving the story forward than podcast. Podcast, you kind of have not only the engagement with you guys and the discussion and dialectic and whatnot, but it's kind of more open. You can get into the weeds and talk about the 90th guy, Zach, on the roster. Whereas on the radio, people are like cruising in between their job, or they're commuting, or they're at work, and they're more like surface type fans. And so you got to keep the topics kind of more top level. And that's what we realized early on is people don't necessarily want to hear us breaking down Jaquan McMillian. They don't know who he is. They want to hear about Russ. How's Russ looking? How's Court doing? What's up with Melvin's injury, these type of things. So it's the same in the sense that it's us, and it's the same in the sense that it's a Broncos conversation between your football priest, but it is slightly different in that sense. Sam Bam says, I'll be in Denver next weekend for my fantasy league's draft weekend. Bro, you travel for your fantasy league draft? That's serious. Says, can't wait. Also, did you get my email? Yes, I did. We got the email, my friend. Little something is going to be headed your way. So appreciate that, Sam.
Good luck, Sam. Who are you taking if you have the first overall pick? What's your guy? Mine's Jonathan Taylor.
The Duchess says right tackle, and with a very, 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 very generous super chat. Love you, Michaela. Thank you so much. We need you. We appreciate you helping to keep the lights on here at MHH. She says, I heard that right tackle that Anderson didn't look that he looked really bad today. When will we learn?
Don't know.
It's hard to say, Zach, because yes, Michaela, he did not look good. But how far do you read into that? Because it was Micah Parsons, who turns out kind of a special player, so how hard do you judge? But still, Calvin Anderson, guess what, dude? If you're a starting right tackle, those are the type of cats you're lining up against week in and week out. Like, you got to hold up better than he did today, I think.
Do you know who's not Micah Parsons? Malik Reed. You know who Calvin Anderson struggled against in training camp? Malik Reed. He's been killed with bull rushes, killed with power. He's not a starting caliber right tackle. He's a nice backup to have, a pet project for Butch Berry perhaps, but another Fangio Munchak holdover from the previous regime. And it's been year after year. Let me get on my soapbox for 1 second, y'all. Year after year after year. Going back, Chad, Donald Stevenson, Menelik Watson, you got Juwan James in there, Eli Wilkinson, and now Jared Valdir has been the best right tackle the Broncos have had in a half decade. What does that say? They've neglected it year after year, and they finally have their franchise quarterback. Every other position set, but yet right tackle still escapes them. I don't understand it at all.
And even, this kind of unfortunately, and hold on, K-Hop, because I do want to grab this, so hold on. Unfortunately, it kind of only bolsters some of the shade or the tropes on Russell Wilson in that all of his big plays come only in when he has broken the pocket, it breaks down, it's off schedule, deep shot over the top, boom. In other words, the criticism is that you don't see those big plays from Russ winning from the pocket, which I think is going to be flipped on its head by the time you get to the season, and people are going to stop talking that way. And by people, I mean the haters, the detractors. But Zach, you'll find it uncomfortably that when you see a lot of the plays, all right, on Broncos Twitter or Facebook, when they show you the plays of the day and all that, and you see a lot of those throws from Russ, Zach, half if not more, are him feeling a little pressure from the edge. So he scoots on out, and then you'll see him make a big play downfield. And so the translation here is they got to sew that up, dude, that edge pressure. And it's usually from the right side for what it's worth that I'm seeing. Like Garrett Bowles, everyone I've talked to says Garrett Bowles is no one's perfect, right? But Garrett Bowles, including today, solid.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan is. I still am surprised considering that Russell Wilson got so unhappy in Seattle and wanted to trade largely because of how often he was hit, how often he was harassed, how often his offensive line let him down. You bring him in, you give up that draft capital, you're going to give up, $250 million, and you have Calvin Anderson or Billy Turner or Tom Compton at right tackle. I'm surprised they never brought aboard Brandon Shell, who was the Seahawks right tackle. At least there's some familiarity. And I guarantee you, Brandon Shell is better than Calvin Anderson or Cameron Fleming. Just my opinion.
K-Hop says, I heard that for every fight that broke out today, Randy Gregory, he of the sling fame, was the first person in the Cowboys' face. Can't wait for his dog mentality to hit the field. Yeah, and that's something that Zach's talked quite a lot about is, Aqib Talib saying there's no dogs. Where's the dogs? The dogs did kind of leave after Aqib Talib, to be honest. It kind of coincided with his exit. Von Miller's great as he is. He's not a dog. Like, he's not out there, John, and crap talking. He kind of is a leader and he speaks with this play on the field. Gregory does both. He's a guy that'll go out and make a big impact play, Zach, and then he's also a trash talking dog in guys' face. How do you read into that? Do you think he was just like John with his buddies? Because a lot of those guys are his friends, right? From all that time he spent in Dallas, or was there something like more mean spirited, like in your face, like he was the first one. Yeah, that's what we're hearing, dude. Like he would run. He's not even in uniform, dude. He's in a hoodie, and he's running over there to get in Dallas's face.
Yeah, I'm sure he's friends with a lot of players on that roster still, but you have to remember the Cowboys never committed to him. And he backed out of a Cowboys deal to come to Denver and sign that $70 million contract. And I've been talking about this from the day they signed him, even before. Y'all will learn to love Randy Gregory because he brings that dog in terms of the intimidation factor and the intangible qualities. But what he does when he's on the field, trust me on this, guys, he's going to make this defense so imposing. He's going to cause such havoc. They're going to get back to that Wade Phillips SB50, no fly zone, don't even F with us. That whole mantra, that whole way of going about their business, that's what they're going to be with Randy Gregory. I think some of it was having fun, but some of it was, listen, guys, you never committed to me. You never trusted me. You never wanted me. This is my new team. This is where my loyalty lies.
Amen, dude. I think as a guy like me, I still have my misgivings about the deal, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing him actually out on the grass, Randy Gregory, and being proven. My misgivings being assuaged, for lack of a better term. Gregory with a second, very, very generous
G-bomb.
super chat. Gregory, you the man, dude. It is a G-bomb. And for that, we present you these highlights, dude. Thank you, buddy. You're the man. Check it out. Russ throwing, boom, Sutton smoking. Who is that? Who is that?
Don't cover the Cowboys anymore. Don't
Here we
care.
go. Here we go. Over the middle. Oh, it's there's one of the Erics catching a pass. Eric Sauber. Russ Zinger to Alberto, who
Albert.
was very, very active today, Zach.
I
Here's
got
Brett
some ripping
Rippon.
action.
Brett Rippon to some of those other numbers of the low end receivers. I can't remember low end of the roster. There we go. There's
Javante.
Pookie. There's the Pookie Meister. What do we got here? Nice catch to Jerry Jeudy. Oh, Tutty. That's a Tutty. Cross the plane. You have broken the pylon, dude. Oh.
This catch was insane.
Yes. Alberto. See, let not your hearts be troubled relative to the tight end issue here. Ooh, just beautiful, dude. Some Kendall Hinton action, quarterback to quarterback throw there. Josh Johnson, he does throw a pretty ball, dude. I gotta give it to him. He's
that was Trey Quinn, I think, too.
Yes, and his stock is rising. There's Montrell, little ball of energy. Love seeing that. Rip, letting it rip deep. Oh,
all of his arm strength on that pass.
Yeah, that took every last ounce of mustard that cat could summon, dude. Yes, so there you have it. The highlights from Broncos camp today. Love it, Gregory. Appreciate you, big dog. Miguel, yes, and thank you for the stars. It's great to see you, my friend. Yeah, it was nice seeing Chubb lay the wood a little bit. I mean, it was kind of a, it wasn't like John Lynch decapitating somebody in the over the middle of the field, but it was a nice little pop, and Zeke went down, Zach.
It wasn't Sean Taylor blowing up the punter in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
It's nice to see Bradley Chubb have that, again, dog bully mentality. I think of Bradley Chubb as a good player, but fairly docile. He's kind of passive. He's not the most outspoken player, and I love the fact that he's finding that in himself in a contract year, fully healthy now. All the platitudes the coaches have served up about Bradley Chubb, Chad, I've noticed that in actuality, he's proving them correct in training camp.
Phil, appreciate you, buddy. He says, what's the story of the new Broncos president? Yes, so in case you missed it, this morning,
Damani.
The Broncos hired a man by the name of Damani Leach to serve as team president. I will quote a couple of lines from the press release. Quote, a highly respected sports executive and innovator with 25 years of experience at both the pro and collegiate levels, Leach joins the Broncos after serving as the chief operating officer of NFL International for the last 3 seasons. Leach will lead the business operations of the Broncos and Stadium Management Company, which operates Empower Field at Mile High, collaborating with the ownership group and the Broncos executive team, in caps, by the way. Leach will maintain a presence at both UC Health Training Center and Empower Field, and he will join George Payton in reporting directly to Penner. But, Zach, one of the things I notice here is it says very specifically, Leach will lead the business operations. So for people wondering, does this remove Peyton Manning from the table as a potential executive on the football side? No, because what's happening here, Zach? Now, this is not me predicting Peyton's going to become president of or vice president of football operations. I'm not even saying that. But what I am saying is under, let's just say, the preceding decade, all right, from the Elway era on, Elway was the top executive on the football side. Joe Ellis, even when Pat Bowlen was alive, was the top executive CEO and team president on the business side. And then they worked after Pat had to step down and then later passed. Elway and Ellis worked hand in hand, one on the business, one on the football side, to make all the big, 10,000-foot decisions and whatnot. So what I'm getting at here is you have a general manager and a very good one that so far seems like George Payton's stock is on the rise. But if this new ownership group, the Walton Penner Group, Zach, if they really had designs and their heart set on somehow, weaving Peyton Manning into the football side, there's still room for that to be done.
Peyton has to want it, though. By all accounts, he has media obligations and he's enjoying his family time and enjoying being a retired player. So I don't know that he'd want to get involved with something so rigorous. But yeah, I was hoping for a miracle and Peyton effing Manning being the new team president, but say la vie. Damani brings some diverse experience. He's good for the Broncos front office because he worked the global aspect. He worked the international aspect. So he'll make the Broncos more of a global force, and it helps for the international series, Chad. I would expect to see the Broncos play overseas quite a bit under Leach's watch going forward.
Yes, and as Michael says here too, he's a former player. All right, he was a Corner, played Ivy League. Well, let me get to that part of his resume here. Let me find it. It's quite a dense press release. And okay, here we go. At Princeton, Leach was a 3-time first-team All Ivy League selection as a DB who earned third-team All-American honors. So yes, a former player, and that's good to have because I don't know that Joe Ellis ever stepped on the field of battle himself, right? Like, so it's good to have that perspective, if for no other purpose, Zach, as a kind of empathy or at least an boots on the ground understanding of how the sausage gets made. Look, it's the Queen. She says, "Miss you guys. Wish I could catch more pods. Hope y'all are good. We miss you too, Christy. Hope you're doing well."
Thank you, Christy. But can I put forward a proposal? Enough. Can we put a lid on the ownership talk now? Now that it's months in the making, Chad, I'm so burned out by it. I'm happy that they have their new group set in place, but let's go talk about the football team. Let's go win some games on the field where it counts.
I don't
All
know.
in favor, say aye.
Are we the only ones in the media sphere that really do loathe that topic? I mean, it's not that I loathe it per se, Zach. It's my least favorite Broncos topic to
There's only
discuss.
so much you can talk about with it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's not my thing. Grab this from Nacho real quick.
Yes, Nacho Fernandez, great name. Appreciate you. He says I'll say they. They say, "Hi, Priest. Good to catch the show live for a change. I share the right tackle concerns. At least we are not discussing a quarterback battle." Yeah, I mean, that's definitely better, not having a competition at the most important position. But right tackle is pretty important in its own right because it doesn't matter if you have Montana in his prime back there. If you can't keep him upright, it's not going to matter. I pray Billy Turner gets healthy. I pray he's the right tackle solution. Hackett thinks he is, but based on what do you also say about history, Chad? The best predictor of the future is the past, in other words.
Yep.
Well, judging by the past, the Broncos have not been able to find that linchpin right tackle, and I don't think Billy Turner, Tom Compton, Cameron Fleming, or Calvin Anderson are any of those options. Again, my opinion, though.
The past is not the only predictor of the future because people change, things change, but it is the most reliable. It is the best predictor. And James Campbell jumping in to say, "I'm really excited about the Leach appointment as president." James has an article coming out on that, breaking down the resume and the hire. So look for that this evening, guys, after the podcast. Mike Reno, good to see you, buddy. He says, "What unit do y'all think performed best in the joint practice today?" Well, best is it's kind of relative because the Broncos quite soundly won across the entire, the entire joint practice. But I would say the first team defense, all right, just showed out. The offense, Russell Wilson and company, they looked explosive. And specifically, I'll drill down and just say, when they got to the red zone, Zach, they hit pay dirt. This wasn't like Pat Shurmur, in over my head, incompetence, Keystone Cops anymore. Like it was, hey, we're sharks. There's blood in the water. Attack. And I love seeing that production.
Jerry Jeudy had a touchdown. It could not be Pat Shurmur for 1 second. I think both sides of the ball, to your point, really dominated. I don't use that word lightly either, especially with the Broncos, especially in recent seasons, but they really showed out today. You talk about defense, Chad. Nick Benito had 4 sacks. Count them, 4 sacks on the Cowboys O-line. Simmons had an interception. CeeDee Lamb got the best of PS2 on a couple occasions, and he smoked Michael Ojemudia, who, by the way, is not cornerback 4 anymore. That's Damari Mathis, but they pushing the pocket, dominating the trenches up front with Draymond, Deshaun Williams, Mike Purcell. And on offense, we showed you the highlights. Russell Wilson found everyone from tight ends like Alberto, receivers like Kendall Hinton. He found Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams found running room as well. This was a blowout if you can blow out a joint practice.
Gary Leeds Palmer, good to see you, buddy. He says, and thank you. As always, we appreciate you. Looking forward to meeting you in the flesh for the meet and greet, September 25th. Is that the date, I believe? Gary says, I was glad to see the Broncos ball out today. Yes, indeed, brother. It was encouraging, right? It's like we talked about today, Zach, on the Mile High Huddle show. It's not the end-all, be-all. You don't want to jump to too many conclusions. But when these, your first opportunity to go head-to-head against outside competition, you don't want the feedback that comes out of that to be, ooh, Nathaniel Hackett, ill-prepared team. Looks like these coaches are in over their head. Wilson's like having to carry everything. No, it was the opposite of that, where, yeah, Wilson did his thing and struck some pay dirt. It was nice, but it was a balanced thing, and it was just this side of dominant. I'm not going to say they like straight dominated the Cowboys, but like it was, if this was a game, if this energy, Zach, and the way it kind of shook out today, if it was a game, I'm saying the Broncos won that game like 34-24, something like that, where it's pretty handle. It was a 2-score win, but it's not as if the Cowboys didn't get any licks in because, Patrick Surtain going up against CeeDee Lamb. Lamb got his.
Yeah, if it was a game, it'd be week 9 of last season. I forgot 30-16. That was the final score. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Broncos definitely won this one, and the Cowboys had all the motivation coming off that loss. How do you lose 2 touchdowns to Teddy Bridgewater at your home stadium? So they come to Denver, they bring their fans with them, and they get their asses kicked once more. Let's ride.
By the way, pardon me, it's really good to see so much of the gang returning to the live chat right now. We got about 300 with us on YouTube in the moment, and I don't know, another couple hundred or so on Facebook, the different pages we're streaming to. It's great to see everybody excited and just kind of triggered in a positive way by good things happening with the Broncos. Do us a favor, though. Make sure you like this video. If you're on YouTube right now, even if you're only with us for a minute or two, small thing you can do, quickly like the videos, and on Facebook. Those things, guys, we need the fundamentals. We need our community to show out for us on that front in a big, bad way right now. Miguel says, do you think the defense has a chance to be special in its own right, Zach, barring injury? What say you?
As always, it's subjective because what's your definition, Miguel, of special? Is that like the best unit in the NFL? Is it an all-time unit like the 2015 Broncos defense, the no-fly zone? Or is it just a unit that's, top 5 or top 10? I think they can definitely be at least top 10 in most categories: sacks, takeaways, interceptions, game-changing plays, forced fumbles, stuff like that. I think they're going to be better against the run, better against the pass. They're going to be a really, really top flight unit overall, but special, we'll have to wait and see.
By the way, guys, we've got about 8 minutes till I got to get going. So any burning topics, questions, get them in. Big E, it's really good to see you. Longtime listener and member of our community on YouTube. He says, I'm sorry. He's bringing up this dead horse that has been flogged. I think the Broncos have a right tackle on the team. His name's Dalton Reisner. All I got to do is put him there. He played right tackle in college at a high level. Hey, dude, you're preaching to the choir, at least to me. I've been all about that from the very beginning, but I have learned, all right, the hard way through watching and seeing what they say and what they do. That's not even on the radar, dude. That's like emergency decision. Dalton Reisner, in the estimation of this team, is very much a guard, and he's going to be this team's starting guard. Left guard, I should say. So I understand what you're saying, but the Broncos, it's just like saying the sky is blue. I wish it was purple. If it was purple, the sunsets would be even more beautiful. Yeah, we can all agree on that, but it's never going to be that, right? The sky's blue. That's what it is. The Broncos view Dalton Reisner as a guard. That's what it is.
My question's always the same. Who's playing left guard if you move Reisner to right tackle? Netani Muti? He's not practicing right now. He has an injury. So, no. As Chad said, that's a break the glass in case of emergency last resort option. Papa Roach, this is my last resort. That's Dalton Reisner. You like that reference, Chad?
I love it, dude. I love it. We have the president of the 200 Club, bona fide Mount Rushmore Super Chat superstar, our friend as well, Dale in the house.
Thank you.
Paradise, throwing down a very generous super chat. Love you, bro. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, a big smile on my face. Nick Benito with 4 sacks. Wow. The D-line dominated one of the better O-lines in the league. Offense, Tutty Land, LOL. Good times in Broncos country at the moment. Great job, guys. Seriously, Dale, please don't let us gloss over how generous this is. Yes. Thank you, bro. Thank you. We really appreciate it. You're a prince. Looking forward to seeing you in September. It's going to be fun.
I want to take Tuttyland from you too, Dale, if I could. That's a great, Nathaniel Hackett probably loves that. But yeah, it's like, it's so foreign compared to a recent joint practice. Like last year against the Vikings, they got Mike Boone hurt. They scored no points and their defense wasn't anything special. You fast forward a year and they're scoring touchdowns left and right, red zone from beyond the 20s as well. The defense is getting interceptions. They're throwing helmets, they're punching people, they're pushing back the pocket, they're dominating the trenches up front. Yes, good times in Broncos country, but Dale, better times ahead too.
Yes, and it's similar. This was a conversation, Zach, you and I had as well on the radio today about the 4 sacks from Nick Bonito. It's like you want to go running into the presses and be like, yo, we've got some positive, because it's been a relatively quiet rookie training camp. He's been swimming in all of the mental demands and obstacles of learning the position at the next level. But you want some kind of positive feedback at some point, and you got that today. And not just a little bit, not like, hey, there was one play where Nick Bonito turned the corner and sacked. No. 4. It, again, reminds me of the way it's shaping up. I've said this before on the podcast. When the Broncos 2015 defense was at its most potent, and I'm talking down the stretch into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, yeah, you had 2 dogs on the edge starting and carrying the majority of the water in DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. But you had 2 hungry, young, up-and-coming edge rushers behind them. Shane Ray before he got hurt, all right, as a rookie, and Shaq Barrett. I think it's shaping up like that, dude. If Gregory isn't too rusty, Zach, when he gets back off the pup week 1, Chubb stays healthy, there's your facsimile for the Von Ware. And then Baron Browning looking good and bendy and twitchy and athletic. And Nick Bonito, man, we could get really excited here to the point of maybe making people uncomfortable just a little bit.
Listen, if your backup edge rusher is the guy with 4 sacks on the Cowboys O-line, you're living pretty. And your other backup is Baron Browning, who's looked really good in training camp as well. This edge rushing unit is extremely deep. And that's not even talking about, Jonathan Cooper, Malik Reed. Unfortunately, Christopher Allen now is out for the season, but they have some beasts on the outside. And I hope Bonito carries this momentum into the regular season.
1 or 2 more, and then I got to get going here, guys. Naj, love you, bro. Are we going to see you in September? Are you going to be able to make it again? Naj made it to the last MHH meet and greet. Here's to hoping you can make it out to part 2. It's going to be dope. He says, hey, brothers, just showing some support. Go Broncos. Legendary figure. We love Naj. Great to see you, bro. We do appreciate that. Seriously. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Naj.
I like this. Zach from Dylan. Derek Wolf said that Fangio didn't believe in science when it comes to resting his players. So it's the inverted. Remember from Nacho Libre? I don't believe in God. I believe in science. It's the inverted. Fangio wasn't believing in what it took, Zach, for players to stay rested. You got to give them some breathers here and there.
Fangio didn't believe in winning, so it's not surprising he doesn't believe in science, honestly.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, this has been, sorry we got to keep it a little bit brief tonight. All right. I'm doing some traveling this evening and I gotta hit the bricks. But tomorrow morning, you've got Legends of Mile High with Tom Hall. Then tomorrow night, you got Dove Valley Deep Divers. Saturday is the game. We'll have some post-game coverage for you, some form of a gut reaction here at MHH. And then, of course, Sunday night, we'll be back in the saddle with the Mile High Huddle podcast. And then from there, booyah, we're into week 2, Zach, of the preseason. So it's going to be a gas.
Can't wait for it. But I hope you all have a great weekend. We're out of here for this evening. That was the Mile High Huddle podcast. Until we see you Sunday for sure, follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys haven't already, go to huddleuppod.com and check out our merch store, all new inventory on the all new website. I promise y'all will like it. Good quality stuff there. And facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page. Follow that page, guys and gals. If you haven't, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that aforementioned merch each and every month. But as you see ticking below you right now, please subscribe, like, and share this video that you're watching and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like y'all.
Indeed. Love you guys. Shout out to these great supporters, the Super Chat superstars, first and foremost tonight. Like D-Dub throwing down in the 200 club. Sam Bam, the Duchess, love you. Gregory throwing down like a boss, nearly in the 200 club. Preem, that's a newer name. Don't forget to connect with us, Preem, on Twitter. And Naj, you're a legend, bro. Phil McLaughlin on Facebook. Gary Leeds Palmer, Nacho Fernandez, Miguel Santistevan. By the way, Zach, you know what you call cheese that does not belong to you?
Nacho cheese, baby.
Nacho in the house. Love it, dude. Mike Reno, Andre Baker, Lawrence Rivera, and across the pond, Marcus Lewis Hannah, please, guys, don't forget to like the video before you dip on out. Okay, it helps us in a big way. Small thing you can do helps us in a big way.
Have a great rest of your Thursday. Great start to your weekend. Enjoy the game Saturday, folks. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.